The New Orleans Saints were supposed to fade into the background this year, not walk into stadiums and shake the whole season. People looked at this roster and saw a team that would just survive, maybe win a few games, then slide toward the top of the draft. Instead, they are punching above their record, dragging opponents into long, ugly fights, and making every Sunday feel like a warning. This does not look like a soft rebuild that takes forever. It looks like a team that suddenly decided it is done being the easy part of anybody's schedule. You can feel it in the way they play from the first drive all the way through the final whistle. The offense does not roll over when it hits a 3rd and long. The defense does not relax with a small lead, and the sideline does not carry that empty body language that used to hang over this franchise. Teams that used to circle New Orleans as a reset game now walk out bruised and confused, wondering how a group that was supposed to be near the bottom just traded blows with them for 4 full quarters. The Saints are not selling hope, they are putting real pressure on teams that thought they could control the script. Somewhere under all of that noise is the real story. The way this offense suddenly looks sharper, faster, and more confident the longer the game goes. A young quarterback in Tyler Shuck is steering drives like he has been here for years. Play callers are trusting him to attack tight windows to stars like Chris Olave, and leaders on the other side of the ball such as Demario Davis and quiet weapons like Charlie Smith are backing it up with real moments when it matters most. This is not a random hot streak. This is the start of a very different identity, and it only makes sense when you look closely at how this entire offense has been rebuilt around that calm presence under center. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Saints and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. The wildest part of this Saints story is how clean the offense suddenly looks when the ball leaves Tyler Shuck's hands. A group that was supposed to live on short safe throws is now running full field drives that feel planned, not lucky. He gets to the line, sees the shell, and the ball is out before most defenses can even disguise what they are doing. What used to feel like survival football now feels like an attack, and every time he rips one over the middle to Chris Olave, you can almost feel the other sideline realizing this is not the conservative project they expected to face. Watch how many people touch the ball now and how different it feels when they do. Backs like Audric Estime and Evan Hull are not just chewing clock, they are catching swing routes, checking out late into the flat, and turning simple plays into long chains of first downs. Tight end Juwan Johnson keeps slipping into soft spots where linebackers cannot quite get there, while receivers like Kevin, Austin Jr., Mason Tipton, and Dante Pettis win on comebacks and crossers that keep drives alive. When a defense starts leaning toward Chris Olave, the ball calmly finds the next man, and that quiet trust in the whole group is exactly what you want from a rookie quarterback everyone doubted on draft night. The real signal that this offense is different shows up when the field shrinks and the pressure climbs. Inside the red zone, Tyler Shuck is not forcing hero balls to Chris Olave. He is working through reads, taking the smart throw to Juwan Johnson, checking down to Audric Estime or Evan Hull, and trusting that if the drive only reaches Charlie Smith range, the points are still coming. This is a group that once leaned on names like Devon Vele, Devin Neal, and Alvin Kamara just to feel dangerous, and now it looks dangerous because of how it functions, not just who is on the field. The question that hangs over all of this is simple and heavy. What did Kellen Moore change behind the scenes to unlock this version of the Saints offense? And how far can that plan really take them? What nobody pointed out in the summer was that Kellen Moore was not coming in to protect Tyler Shuck, he was coming in to challenge him. He stripped the call sheet down to concepts that demand real timing and real conviction, not easy safe throws that hide a young passer. Early in games, you can see the rhythm, quick designs that clear one side of the field, give Tyler Shuck a clear picture, and force defenses to cover every yard instead of sitting on lazy routes. The ball is coming out on time, receivers break into open space, and the plan looks like it was built for a quarterback who actually wants the ball in his hands when everything speeds up. On money downs, the fingerprints of Kellen Moore are even louder. He uses motion to test coverage rules, stacks and bunch looks to free Chris Olave at the snap, and quietly creates cheap wins for players like Juwan Johnson, Audric Estime, and Evan Hull, who keep showing up in the right place at the right moment. Formations shift just enough to stress communication without turning every snap into something cute. Corners think they can jump an outside route, then Kevin Austin Jr. or Mason Tipton breaks across their face and the chains move again. It is the kind of structure that helps a rookie quarterback stay aggressive without living in panic. The most telling part is how Kellen Moore blends all of this into the personality of his group. He knows Tyler Shough plays his best ball when the picture is clear, but the stakes are high, so the calls late in games look familiar, yet carry more bite, with deeper options layered on top of the same concepts he has been hitting all night. That is why the sideline does not tighten up when the Saints fall behind. They know the script is built for moments where they have to answer, not just survive. And the first real proof of that came in one specific situation, when a trip to Carolina turned into a deep hole on the scoreboard, and Tyler Shough had to show what this system really looks like when the season feels like it is slipping away. 17-7 in Carolina looked like the exact nightmare people predicted for the New Orleans Saints. A long road night slipping away while the home crowd got loud and the season felt heavy. That is the kind of spot where a young rookie quarterback is supposed to tighten up, lock onto one receiver, and let the moment smother him. Instead, Tyler Shough stepped into the huddle like the clock had finally slowed down, not sped up. Every drop back had purpose. Every read looked deliberate. And suddenly, the Carolina Panthers defense was the group scrambling for answers while the Saints sideline shifted from quiet frustration to a kind of calm expectation that something big was coming. The details of those last drives are where you really see who Tyler Shough is turning into. Early in the push, he fired a timing ball to Kevin Austin Jr., placing it on the outside shoulder so the corner never had a real shot to jump it. Then he kept going back to Chris Olave on deep curls and sharpened breaking routes, throwing him open into empty pockets that Carolina had left in their coverage, not just hitting him when he was clearly free. When the Panthers tried to heat him up with a full pressure look and a big body like Derrick Brown screaming through untouched, he read it instantly, trusted Chris Olave inside, and ripped a slant that arrived before the hit could land. That is not a scared rookie trying to survive a blitz. That is a young passer using the rush as a chance to land a punch of his own. What really changed the story was how he managed risk while still attacking. On the sideline shot, he dropped the ball where Chris Olave could secure it and get down before taking a brutal collision, choosing control over show-off yards. Over the middle, he shaded a throw slightly back toward Juwan Johnson to keep him clear of a closing safety, proving he understands that protecting his playmakers is part of the job. Each completion dragged the defense closer to the line, opened more room for the next strike, and turned what looked like a routine loss into a statement that this offense can finish when everything is on the line. The twist now is that those same expectations are about to collide with a new reality, because the next chapter forces Tyler Shough to keep all of this going without key weapons like Devon Vele and Devin Neal, and that is where the pressure on this young leader really spikes. Losing Devon Vele on the outside and Devin Neal in the backfield ripped two safety nets away from Tyler Shough in a single swing. One was the big body target who could win on the boundary when everything else stalled. The other was the steady runner who kept the offense on schedule and softened every defensive front. Add in the constant uncertainty around Alvin Kamara and the moving pieces on the offensive line, and suddenly this is not a friendly setup for a rookie quarterback. This is the kind of situation where a season can quietly slide off track if the replacements freeze when the lights hit. What makes this stretch so fascinating is how many names now have a real chance to flip their careers. Audric Estime is being asked to set the tone as a physical runner who can slam into tight spaces, bounce off contact, then leak out late and make defenses pay for overcommitting. Evan Hull brings a different flavor, more lateral quickness, softer hands, and the ability to stress linebackers in open grass. On the perimeter, Kevin Austin Jr. steps from occasional snaps into a bigger spotlight, using his frame on crossers and comebacks, while Mason Tipton can stretch safeties deep and clear room underneath. Veterans like Dante Pettis give Tyler Shough a trustworthy route runner who understands leverage, and Juwan Johnson keeps showing up as the quiet answer in tight windows when coverage tilts toward Chris Olave. For Tyler Shough, this is where the evaluation gets real, because lifting a shorthanded group is what separates a nice story from a future franchise centerpiece. He now has to turn simple checkdowns to Audric Estime into drive starters, give Evan Hull chances to slice through light boxes, and make throws to Kevin Austin Jr., Mason Tipton, Dante Pettis, Juwan Johnson, and Chris Olaway look like part of the plan, not desperation. If this offense stays on rhythm without Devon Vele and Devin Neal, the conversation shifts from he fits the system to the system is growing around him. The catch is that this new version of the Saints attack is about to be judged in a very specific test, against a New York Jets defense that is strong in some obvious areas and wide open in others, which is where the real chess match begins. This New York trip is where all the pretty talk around the New Orleans Saints has to survive a real stress test. The Jets bring a strong crowd, a tough front, and a stadium that turns loud the second you fall behind. For Tyler Shuck, a rookie facing a defense that wants to drag him into a slow grinding game, this is not just another road day. It is a check on whether his calm can control the tempo when the other side is trying to squeeze every yard. The Jets want this to feel like a street fight in the trenches. The Saints want it to feel like a rhythm session through the air, and that collision of styles is exactly where this matchup gets interesting. On tape, the opening is obvious and dangerous for New York. Their front can bottle inside runs, but their pressure rate is low, and their secondary looks patched together after all the movement they have gone through. That is a bad mix against a passer who loves clean pictures and quick timing. If Tyler Shuck gets a steady pocket, he can let Chris Olaway work deep comebacks and sharp and breaking routes. Ask Kevin Austin Jr. to bully corners on the boundary, and give Juwan Johnson chances to win down the seam when safeties get nosy. When the Jets lean into man coverage, crossing concepts can force long chases, especially if Audric Estime and Evan Hull slip late into the flat as outlet options. The target is not some wild fantasy line, it is a smart window of around 200 to 250 passing yards, steady chains, and red zone trips that finish in touchdowns instead of field goal stalls. On the other side, the Saints defense has a clear chance to tilt the entire night if it suffocates the one strength New York leans on. The Jets' passing game sits near the bottom of the league at roughly 147 passing yards per game. So they will ride Breece Hall and ask Brady Cook to do just enough. That is where players like Chase Young, Demario Davis, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Quincy Riley, Jonas Sanker, and Justin Reed can flip the pressure, stuffing early runs, forcing long thirds, and turning every throw into a test of patience. If New Orleans can grab a lead and keep its foot on the gas, this stops looking like a trap and starts looking like a full statement that the Saints can dictate style on both sides of the ball, which leads straight into how their defense and special teams are quietly being built for those exact moments. The easiest way to miss what the New Orleans Saints are becoming is to stare only at Tyler Shuck and the offense. The real shift shows up when a drive flips suddenly, and the defense has to answer in an ugly spot. That is when names like Chase Young and Demario Davis start tightening the screws, closing interior lanes, and forcing quarterbacks to stand in the pocket longer than they want. On the outside, Kool-Aid McKinstry and Quincy Riley crowd releases, while safeties like Jonas Sanker and Justin Reed close space over the top. These are not empty splash plays for social clips. They are quiet sequences that take away comfort from the other sideline and hand the ball back to an offense that knows exactly what to do with extra chances. You see the same mindset in how New Orleans treats special teams. Charlie Smith did not arrive with a big spotlight. He earned trust by drilling kicks in tough practice situations, then carrying that same calm into live pressure moments. Every time he nails a long field goal late, it changes how Kellen Moore calls the next series, how Tyler Shuck feels when a drive stalls just outside the red zone, and how opponents think about their own margin for error. Even the presence of Cade York earlier in the year kept the standard high at that position, turning every rep into a competition instead of a formality. That attitude spills over to coverage units and return groups, where depth pieces fight for snaps knowing one good rep can lock them into the rotation. Put it all together, and you get a team that is learning how to control the final minutes, instead of hoping for a bounce. Drives that used to feel like coin flips now tilt toward New Orleans because the defense expects to get one more stop and the special teams unit expects to close the door when called. That stability matters for Tyler Shuck, for Audric Estime, for Evan Hull, for Chris Olaway, because it means every possession is framed inside a structure that treats field position and small details as serious business. The more that foundation hardens, the louder one question becomes in New Orleans living rooms and front office meetings. Whether this standard is being built for just a short surge or for a long era, with Tyler Shuck as the face of the franchise. The strangest part of this whole rise is not a single throw. It is how different the New Orleans Saints feel from Monday to Sunday. After the Drew Brees years ended, this franchise lived in that weird space where the ceiling looked exciting, but the floor kept falling out from under them. One week they looked ready to scare anyone, the next week they slipped in games they should control. Kellen Moore walked into that mess and started changing things in the quiet places fans never see. How fast meetings move, how practice tempo looks, how coaches correct mistakes without killing confidence. How veterans respond after a bad series instead of just shrugging it off. The message is simple. The standard does not change based on the opponent or the scoreboard. You can see that mindset in the way the roster is being built and challenged. The front office is not chasing empty splash. It is stacking pieces that fit this new identity of toughness and detail. A move for a versatile weapon like Nyheim Miller-Hines on the practice squad is not about headlines. It is about having one more option who can catch, run, and help on returns when bodies are missing. Competition never stops, from Cade York pushing Charlie Smith earlier in the season, to backs fighting for touches behind Audric Estime and Evan Hull, to receivers like Kevin Austin Jr., Mason Tipton, and Dante Pettis, knowing they have to earn every snap. That kind of environment gives Tyler Shuck something most young passers never get, a structure that treats every inch of the field as important instead of just waiting for a miracle play. All of that circles back to one question that gets louder every week in New Orleans. Is Tyler Shuck just a confident rookie riding a strong stretch, or is this the first real answer the Saints have had at quarterback since Drew Brees walked away? He has already checked boxes that front offices obsess over, from running the huddle with calm to adjusting protections and trusting tight timing windows under real pressure. The rest of the league is starting to say his name in the same breath as young stars like Jaden Daniels, not as an afterthought behind them, and that alone changes the way defenses prepare. If this is what he looks like this early, in a locker room that is still learning Kellen Moore standard and in an offense that is still growing around him, the real curiosity is what happens once he gets a full offseason as the locked-in starter and an even sharper cast around him. Because that is where this story could move from surprise run to full new era in New Orleans.